Welcome aboard, everyone, to Betting Weekly Live. It's the start of a new week. It's Monday, the 21st of July, with Steve Wiss. And look who's with me. It's Rory Giovanni on the show. Rory, how have things been with you? Have you been keeping your eye on all the sporting action at the weekend? Open Championship or not these days for you?
Oh, good. Well, I've been, as some of your viewers may know, because I was on the tennis podcast yesterday. I've been moving this weekend, so actually been playing a bit of catch up in terms of sport. So I completely missed the Usyk Dubois fight, which caught the highlights today. It was like, wow, absolutely incredible. Dubois hit him with some good shots, but Usyk just came back with interest and devastating finish. Only went, I think everyone was thinking if it was a short fight, Dubois had a chance, and Usyk would come on strong in the latter stages. But Usyk won it in round 5. Incredible.
He's a monster.
He's so good. I mean, I remember when he fought Anthony Joshua for the second time. I remember watching that thinking, what's going to be different from first time? I mean, he's just the complete boxer. He's not the biggest, but he's just incredible. Wonderful, wonderful fighter. And Dubois did well, and obviously he didn't do, first one, there was controversy because there was that low blow, was it or wasn't it, in the first fight, but no excuses this time. Usyk was phenomenal. The Open, it was an expected result, shall we say? It was.
You know what's interesting, Rory, on the actual fight? I got some notes from producer Troy before we went live today, and the Bet River Sports took 2 times the money on the Manny Pacquiao fight than on the Usyk one, which is interesting. Of course, Manny Pacquiao came back out of retirement, didn't he? And about 46, I think. And there was way more betting interest in that particular fight. Now, possibly it could have been to do with like the odds. I mean, Usyk was, when there is such a big favourite, there's sometimes less action, if you know what I mean. If you've got, say, someone at maybe plus 150, someone at minus 1, 170 or something, they often get much more involved in a fight. But it's funny how it goes. The sports book actually had the public took a small win at the British Open, which I was surprised by that, because with Scottish Sheffley winning, I thought maybe that would be a really, really bad result for the sportsbook. But as we were talking about last week on Betting Weekly Live, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, a lot of the bigger bets did tend to come on Rory McIlroy or some of the bigger outsiders, actually. Scheffler, perhaps, to be fair, I don't think he was that fancied pre-tournament. No one would ever say, oh, he's not going to win. But I think there was others more looked at, which might have actually saved the sportsbook to a degree. You're never going to have a winning week as a sportsbook if Scottish Scheffler wins a major. But that sounds like pretty good damage limitation to me. I was asking someone yesterday, what price is he going to be for the Masters? I mean, I've seen him as big as 4-1. Wow. We're entering nearly Tiger Woods territory, really.
Yeah. No, he's that good.
That good.
Is. I think a couple of years ago they were sort of comparing his stats with Tiger in his prime, and there wasn't much difference. I mean, he is head and shoulders above the rest, and it's such a competitive era of golf. You've got so many good players, but he is that bit better than all of them. And I think one of the comments was saying, he made it a bit boring. It was never interesting. And, when that was it from Duncan, when the weather is okay, a lot of these courses, particularly the British Open, the Open Championship, don't have that much teeth, that many teeth when the weather's fine. So, when it's, good weather, Scheffler's going to win. He's just that far ahead of everyone else. When things are difficult, on a proper links course, if it'd been a proper links test with the wind swirling about,
like day one kind of wasn't it? It was a bit.
Yeah.
If it had stayed that way for the tournament, I think something like between maybe -5 to -10 might have won. I mean, in 2 years' time, we go back to St Andrews. If the wind doesn't get up there, if we have benign minus 30 could win. Genuinely, I wouldn't be shocked. It's too easy for these pros now, like you said, on the Open Championship courses. Just looking back through the comments here, like you said, Duncan Evan, the golf was a big disappointment. I felt it was interesting for like 2.5 days, Duncan. I enjoyed the course. I enjoyed watching it. There was lots of bets you could get on other than, outright winner. But yeah, I know what you mean. We knew going into Sunday who was going to win the event, and I think that can put off quite a lot of people. Mike, good to see you. It was a really good day. Last couple of days on the Thursday and Friday for me on the soccer bets for sure. In the absurd qualifying in Conference League, and then had some good winners on Saturday in Norway, Sweden. Ian Messina, good to see you. Ray Burke as well. Dave Clark, William Jenner, good to see you from South Florida. Brian M. Rory's on the show, which must mean we have the US Open of surfing the weekend. We do have. I'll tell you what we're going to talk about today. World Matchplay darts. If you remember, Rory a couple of times around Christmas was talking about the darts in the World Championship. We've got another really big event this week on in Blackpool. I'm going to start things soon with a match in Sweden in the Allsvenskan. And later on, I'm going to give some thoughts on tomorrow's Champions League games. And of course, with Rory on the show, plenty of tennis action as well. Leslie, Matt, I did. I had a good day on Saturday. The Bodø Glimt game in Norway was top billing, just as I expected it to be. Sometimes with a game in whatever sport, Rory, you have high expectations. It's going to be really entertaining. And half the time, it doesn't live up to it. Thankfully, that game did. It was barnstorming game, 4-2 win for Bodø Glimt in what we'll look back as probably a title decider in Norway when all things and said are done come in November. There was some great props as well. The Open Championship show we had last week with Simon and Neil. Thought they were a little bit unlucky. Simon with Brian Harmon, I think, finished tied 10th. I mean, he advised him of 125-1 with a 7th place market, but I know lots out there did bet on him, top 10, top 20, just to make the cut. There were some really good pearls of wisdom there from the boys. And the team, Bob McIntyre, of course, really strong pick from both of them, getting a comfortable place at 33-1. So you can't really knock that too much. There we go. Yeah, Matthias Edgara mentions that. Great to see you. And then Coach Zanko from Croatia. I was going to say, normally in Slovenia, how is Croatia doing? I know a friend who plays in my cricket team who went to Croatia recently. He said he absolutely loved it. He was in Dubrovnik, called it basically the Lake District on steroids. I've never been to Croatia, but apparently it's a very nice country. Sean Calve is off out there to Croatia.
He's in Umag for the ATP tournament. Is he?
Yeah. I saw some tweets. He's stuck on the runway again. No. He hasn't been having much luck with flights lately. Anyway, let's get stuck into some betting action.
Yes, that's what we're here for.
We are absolutely here for. There's one main game today in Europe, and it is a game in Allsvenskan. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I was on a show, Norrköping. This is Norrköping against Värnamo. And Norrköping let me down badly a couple of weeks ago. They were a massive price. I was sucked in by the price, and I still would have taken that same bet again. But I've on reflection, I do think Norrköping probably. I was suspicious about why they were so big that game. I'm very suspicious about why they're so big here. Again, plus 123 at home against the rock bottom team Värnamo, who have have only won one match all season. It did come last week, so and they are trending upwards. But the odds would suggest here that actually Värnamo are slightly the better team. If both sides were to play on a neutral territory based on those odds, you would probably have Värnamo at about minus money if it was to lift a trophy, for example. And that in a nutshell would feel plain wrong. But I think that Norrköping, perhaps there's something here why the books don't rate them. There's got to be a reason for it, and I think their underlying metrics are very poor. I don't think they're as good as I thought they were a few weeks ago. So I do believe actually Värnamo are probably the right side here. If you are going to be betting a side, draw no bet or handicaps. Realistically, this is probably a no bet game, because Värnamo away from home have lost 6 out of 7 matches. It's very hard to back a team at plus 200 in that instance. And, in terms of man for man, 11 versus 11, I do think Norrköping should still be the better side. But something dodgy's going on with them, Rory. Like, You've probably been in this situation many times in sports where you look at a team or a player or whatever, an individual, and think, why are they continually so big? And your books can get it wrong once or twice, but if it continually is that price, there's probably a ratings issue amongst yourself, and Norrköping probably are not as good as expected. But I think it's a tough match to get involved in. I think the right side is Värnamo. I don't think there's maybe many goals in this game. Värnamo have been involved in a lot of unders. Last 6 games have gone under 2.5 goals, but Norrköping have been an overs team. Tough game. Put it in comments if you are going to be betting on the Allsvenskan today. But if I'm going to give you a prediction, I'd probably say draw. But how do you ever cope with that, Rory, when a team or someone is continually bigger than you expect? If they're keeping winning, keep backing them, right? But if they're not getting the desired results, you've got to probably change your own approach.
Yeah, I mean, I've in many sports down the years, horse racing probably the prime example. You know, the old cliff horse who you keep following and you keep backing. I mean, I remember there's a horse on the flat called Twice Over several years ago, trained by Henry Cecil. Was always a bigger price than he should have been, and I'd keep backing him, and he'd usually perform well. So sometimes it's a personal thing, isn't it? You see something that the bookies don't. You know, some horses, some teams, some players are just unfashionable, you know, to bookies. Other times there is an underlying reason, and you know, obviously we're all blessed with social media. We all go on the Instagram accounts or Twitter accounts and try and find out if anything's wrong. There's always the possibility that the bookie knows more than you do. Which is a bit disconcerting in this modern age. You know, you kind of think, where are they getting their info from? Why can't I get this info? It's tricky. You have to take it case by case, don't you? I mean, it's really surprising that Norrköping are, you know, that big at home. That just seems...
Yeah, it's wrong. Like Värnamo
seems strange.
Lost 10 out of 15 games, 6 out of 7 away from home. You know, if you were just basing it purely on that, then Norrköping would have to be a there. But what has happened recently is that Värnamo have improved. You know, to be fair to them, I mean, at home they've been competitive. They beat Djurgården last time, 0-0 against Elfsborg. They don't score many goals. They are moving in the right direction, but fundamentally, if you said to me, what is the better team in terms of ratings, you would, on a neutral territory, I would personally still make Norrköping favourites, but I might be wrong. It's one of those where I might be wrong. Like, you know, underlying metrics and stuff I know are not that great for Norrköping, but then I look at their 11, I think there still should be enough quality to get the job done. Dave Clark saying both teams scoring over 2.5. Not normally the worst bet with Norrköping, but Värnamo games recently, Dave, just been... I mean, they just struggle to hit the back of the net, but their defence has tightened up. So I think it's a very tough match to get involved in. I would love to give like a confident pick, but if it's not there, it's not there, is it? It's as simple as that, really. Brian M says, Sean having travel troubles, minus 1,000. Yeah, absolutely. First leg cashed in. RHM, Champions League tomorrow. We've got Dan and Lewis Jones on the show, so I'm sure they'll be covering some of that. But at the end of today's show, I do have a couple of picks for tomorrow myself, which I will be giving out. So stay tuned, RHM. And I will have a look at that 4-leg acca that you put in the suggestions, and I'll come with my thoughts later in the show. Real Brandon King, good to see you as well. Anyway, Rory.
So I'm just looking at RHM's accumulator.
Yes,
he's got a big bet lined up for tomorrow.
This is the man who won 70,000 on the qualifying last week. Wow. And we thankfully advised him not to hedge. Where the last 2 legs of his bet, and the last 2 legs won 6-0 and 4-0. So that was a good thing not to hedge in that instance, wasn't it? So it's a profitable time of year if you know what you're doing with these qualifiers, Rory. As you know, if you get an edge, then you're there. But let's go to your bread and butter. Wimbledon's come and gone now, and it's a weird phase of the year for tennis, isn't it? It's like the surfaces all over the gaff and all this. Let's start with, you've got some matches we're going to talk about here. Washington, 3 matches. I think one of these is today, right?
No, they're all tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Don't know the timings exactly on these because I haven't seen the order of play for tomorrow. When we looked at this tournament, Nigel and I did the podcast yesterday. I picked out Hailey Baptiste as a lively outsider. She was $50 in the outright market. She's a local. She's from born and lives in Washington, D.C. And she made her main tour debut on WTA back in 2019 at this tournament. And she beat Madison Keys there, which was a massive upset. And a couple of years back, she beat Karolina Pliskova, former world number one. I did pick her as a possible outright, as someone who could go a long way. I thought Sofia Kenin was tough in round one, but I didn't think Baptiste would be this big. I think she's overpriced for this one. Kenin's a good player, but Baptiste is definitely going the right direction. She's at her career high world ranking, number 48, if I'm not mistaken. She's got home support. She's got a lot going for her here. The weather's pretty warm in Washington, D.C., as some of our Bet Rivers colleagues will tell you. And that will help Baptiste, who's an aggressive player. She likes to come forward. She likes to be at the net. And with home support, I think she's got every chance here. And I'm surprised at her being plus 140 here. So that would be my thoughts on that one. Kostyuk, Raducanu. I actually gave this as a pick on the newsletter, this match. So I'm wondering if I should repeat it here.
Well, the newsletter has come and gone now, so
okay.
I think we may as well. And it's a great opportunity, actually, for me now
yes.
to remind everyone of the Betting Weekly newsletter, which continues to go from strength to strength, 2 per week, Monday's newsletter, and, of course, if actually the newsletter, I think it has been released anyway. If it hasn't, it'll be very, very soon. But there's also an exclusive pick from James Easton on the Servette game. It was mentioned in chat that James Easton has a pick on the Servette game. And the Insider, I think, will have a Premier League preview on Friday. Still quite early for the Premier League. We've been staggering these league early previews week by week, along with other stuff. It's totally free to sign up. And like I said, the newsletter goes from absolute strength to strength. But sorry, Rory, I interrupted there.
No, not at all.
Continue
good opportunity.
With continue, please.
Good opportunity to plug the newsletter. So I made Kostyuk Raducanu the subject of my pick. Kostyuk's been in horrendous form of late. She's lost her last 5 matches. She fell at the first at Wimbledon to Veronika Erjevets of Slovenia, who's not a household name, probably not really in her own family. She's won just one set. She won a set in that match at Wimbledon. That's the only set she's won in the last 5 matches. Something's clearly amiss here. Whereas Raducanu's been in decent form. She had a good run at Wimbledon. She fell to Arina Sabalenka. No disgrace there. Gave the world number one plenty to think about there. And, I think Raducanu wins comfortably. Kostyuk's just been in such poor form, and I don't see her turning it around here. And Kostyuk is also a player who's not great when it's hot. I saw her in Madrid almost wilt in the heat a couple of years back, and it's going to be hot and humid in Washington. I really like Raducanu here. The bet for me, -1.5 sets. Raducanu at plus 145. It should be a comfortable win for the Brit.
Do you have a better record betting on Emma Raducanu matches than Nigel?
Not really, no. Probably slightly better, but on the basis that it couldn't be any worse, I think. But
she looked all right at Wimbledon, didn't she?
She did.
Emma Raducanu.
She did.
Honestly, gave Sabalenka a really good run for her money. Is Emma Raducanu someone you might be looking out for to keep continuing a back sort of a rise again the next few months or not?
Yes and no. I mean, the problem with Raducanu is she's so injury prone, and she goes through coaches, like they're going out of fashion. So combination of the two, doesn't make for great stability, let's say. And, hopefully she can stay fit. And hopefully, her and her coach can keep working on things. It's definitely, signs of progress. She's definitely going in the right direction of late. Just hope that she can keep it going. It's nearly 4 years since she won that US Open in such spectacular fashion. She hasn't won a tournament since. She hasn't achieved a hell of a lot since. I don't think she's even the British #1 anymore. So, yeah, she's been handed what I think's a nice opener in Washington, DC. And hopefully she can have a bit of a run here. Obviously, as I say, it's a funny time of the season. Last week they were on the clay again for some reason. They're back on hard court, and now we're into the build up to the US Open, the last slam of the year. And obviously Raducanu's got great memories from there. So hopefully she can have a strong lead into New York and perform well there again.
RHM, I like all the numbers apart from number 1 that you've put there. And the main reason that Victoria Plazenia game, I just don't know enough about it. But the other ones I would agree with, yeah. So it's just that first game. I don't hate the first bit, by the way. I just don't know enough about the game. But I do like the other ones. Naomi Osaka there. By the way, Rory, I was just looking at the odds here for WTA Washington. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Venus Williams. Now, what's that? How she must be? How old is she now?
She's 45, and
what's that about then?
She hasn't played for, I think, over a year. She said she wanted to play. They gave her a wild card into the main draw, and yeah, she's up against Peyton Stearns tomorrow. When she was playing last, she was looking her age, shall we say, and I'd be very surprised if she was competitive.
Plus 1050 with Bet Rivers, and Peyton Stearns is minus 2,500. I just looked at it and I thought that can't be right. I thought that must have been like a doubles game, which has got missed times. But yeah, Venus Williams obviously back on court. But yeah, you're not going to get involved in that game. But Naomi Osaka here against Putintseva. Is that how you pronounce her?
That's it. Spot on. Putintseva a bit like Kostyuk. She's another player in very poor form. Osaka's not exactly, hitting the lights out, but Putintseva's form of late has been terrible. And Osaka, I'd expect to win comfortably. These are her perfect conditions. See, twice US Open winner, twice Australian Open winner. She's not the force of old, but I suspect she'll be far too strong for Putintseva. The spread, I couldn't put anyone off the spread at -125. Osaka -4.5 games. I'm tempted by Osaka -6.5 games at +195. That's just a lean for me, but I'd expect Osaka, as I say, to win this pretty easily. Oh, I can't hear you, Steve.
Yeah, and good luck with your outright plays. That's better for this tournament as well. Both you and Nigel. I know you've got several outrights as well in Prague, and there's one match tomorrow there. Now, what surface are we here then, Rory?
Yeah, we're on hard court again.
Hard court. Yeah.
Strangely for Prague, they actually played last year's on clay. Having been on hard court the previous few years, last year they just decided it should be on clay. Don't know why. But they're back on hard court. And this match, Katerina Siniakova against Gabi Ruse, it's one of these matches where I think if you like in-play betting, you'll have plenty of opportunities to trade. They're both talented, but pretty temperamental. Siniakova knocked out Qinwen Zheng at Wimbledon, I think for the second time in 3 years. And then she fell to Naomi Osaka, who we've just talked about. One previous meeting, which was 5 years ago, the Czech won in 3 sets. Definitely couldn't put you off overs games here. So that's over 21.5 games at -113. But I quite fancy this to go the distance. Over 2.5 sets at +138 would be my bet here.
Excellent bit of insight there. Yeah, like you said, the surfaces are all over the place. I've noticed on the ATP tour, we've got Kitzbühel and clay, Umag as well on clay. Kitzbühel, I've actually been there in the winter. I mean, what an incredible place that must be to play and watch tennis. They had Gstaad as well, wasn't it, last week in Switzerland?
Yeah.
Unbelievable places for the event. I think the surfaces kind of have to be clay there for whatever reason, unless they're indoor. Someone once said, but okay. I don't know the exact reasons why. But of course, coming up in about an hour and a half time, we've got Betting Weekly Tennis Live. Mitch Michaels and Dustin Fox will be. Dustin Fox is back this week, and they will be discussing more tennis action. Don't know exactly which games or which events, but they'll be giving a lot more insights in fixtures today, tomorrow, stuff like that. So do tune into that one. Brian M asked you, Rory, thoughts on fading Sakkari in Washington? Boulter is -105.
Yeah, we're talking about catching Raducanu, right? Boulter's a player I'm not catching right at the moment either. She was disappointing on grass, and I was expecting a lot better of her. And Sakkari does have a good record in Washington. I think she was beaten finalist in Washington a couple of years back. She lost to Coco Gauff in the final 2 years back. So that's not a match I particularly want to get involved with. Sakkari's a funny one because she's shown flashes of her best. She got back together with her old coach, and it looked like things were clicking again. And then suddenly she went off the boil. So she's very inconsistent at the moment. And I think might be one where you just watch the first couple of games, see how it goes, and then get involved. But two players with a few questions to answer at the moment.
Yeah, thank you very much for the thoughts on that game there. By the way, 6-0, 6-0 AZ Flights. I presume he was on about the Venus Williams match there. Bet Rivers are not offering the correct score betting for the game in terms of games in a set, but they do offer 2-0 to Stearns at -670, or 2-0 to Venus Williams is just 22-1. I suspect you might want a bit more than that for 2-0 Venus Williams. So Brian says Sakkari is 5-10 on hard this year. Only head-to-head was in 2018, which he would not call relevant. But yeah, thanks for thoughts on that game. Brad Betts Footy, good to see you. I will be talking a little bit of Champions League at the end, but I don't have anything on that Red Imps game at this point in time. The Lincoln Red Imps from Gibraltar, they actually quite impressed me in round one. I know this is a big step up in class, and Red Star Belgrade should cover it, but some of these teams, they're not that sharp yet. And I think you go to places like this, you just want to get in and out with a result of some sort. I'm not sure. I don't hate it, but I don't really. It wasn't a match which caught my attention yet. It might be tomorrow that I love the game. That's the way it goes. In terms of the ACCA RHM, I mean, why not? James's newsletter pick is on that game. I think it's both teams to score. Yes, I think I don't know enough about Servette. That's the problem. And the Czech league has always been one of my poorest leagues in Europe. Unfortunately, everyone has a sort of a blind spot somewhere. Poland and Czech Republic, not great with those leagues myself. I know plenty about other leagues. I know more about the bloody Andorran league at the moment than that one because I've been following the teams in qualifying. Okay, it's time. I need to say it's time to meet the players then, as they do. It's the darts. It's time for a bit of arrows. Rory, we've been looking forward to this one. The World Matchplay is in Blackpool. I find this a fascinating time of year. They've always had it in July in Blackpool. There's no other main darts events near it on the calendar, really. The dart season sort of mega starts in October, doesn't it? Have loads of tournaments in the build to the World Championship, Premier League darts as well. But the match play. Now, there's already been a massive shock in this tournament. Luke Humphries is knocked out by Gian Van Veen. And Van Veen is in the third favourite now because he has effectively taken his spot in the draw as one of the top seeds. Luke Littler, the clear favourite, plus 125. I saw he averaged about nearly 110 yesterday. He's always going to be the favourite here. Gerwyn Price, plus 700. So that section of the draw, that half of the draw that Van Veen's in now, I think the likes of James Wade is in there because Aspinall got knocked out of that section too.
He did.
Yeah. That's if you're having an outright bet, surely that half of the draw would be the one you have to attack here, Rory, because Luke Littler can be a monster.
It is, but there's so many, you just don't know who to pick. I mean, it's, the prices there tell you all, Littler will probably win his half, and then, who's going to win the other half? Gerwyn Price is in good form. He's playing tonight. We'll have a look at his match in a moment. Van Veen obviously knocked out Humphries, the defending champion. I'm still not convinced that he's ready to win a tournament this big, but you never know. Gary Anderson, very tough match tomorrow. Against, I think he's playing Stephen Bunting, if I'm not mistaken. So, this is, it's, you're looking for the value in the other half. You're looking for the winner of the other half of the draw to Luke Littler. It's a tricky one. There are so many good players, and, I can't remember darts being this strong. We're in the first round, and already we've seen two massive names of course, Humphries and Aspinall both out. Rob Cross, Peter Wright already out. Littler was incredible. I mean, he beat Ryan Searle, who's a very good player. He beat him 10-2, averaged 108.92. I mean, that's off the scale. One player who's just found a bit of form, actually, and could go well at a price is James Wade. He played well last week in the Baltic Sea Open, if I'm not mistaken, that's what it's called, in Kiel, in Germany. He played pretty well there, and he averaged well over 100 in his win over Joe Cullen. So he might be someone who could go well at a big price. But
I know someone who backed James Wade pre-tournament at 66-1.
He's always gone well at this tournament.
Very well here. Loves it, doesn't he?
This is his, if he's going to win a tournament, this would be it. I mean,
his route here, James Wade now faces Wessel Nyman, who is a really upcoming star, isn't he? Who was impressive against Aspinall. Yeah. And then the winner of that would face Van Veen or Noppert. Now, Van Veen's interesting. He'd never won a match on this stage before. He'd never won in Blackpool before beating Humphries. But obviously now he's got that one off his back. Then sometimes you can have a come down there, can't you, after a really big win? Could he be vulnerable against Noppert next time out? I don't know. But there's a few comments in chat saying Van Veen might not be a household name, but he's very good, says Gratzer. And someone else said that Van Veen, Duncan, Van Veen is an outright value pick. I don't know enough about the lad, to be fair.
He's a very talented sort of, I think he won the Youth World Championship about 3 years back. So, everyone knew he was good. And everyone's been expecting him to do big things. He's clearly talented, but it's that mentality on the big stage. That's what separates the very good from the good players. And I've not really seen it from him in big tournaments yet. Certainly not as big as this. But and as I say, I think Wade, at a price, he's in the right half of the draw. Could be worth a punt to get to the final.
25-1. Yeah, I would agree. I think, and you can get each way terms as well with Bet Rivers. So if he make the final, you're getting half of those odds. You might be in a situation where just say you reach the semi-final, even against Gary Anderson, you'd be on Wade to beat Anderson at 12.5-1, which there's worse bets than that. That's for sure. Gary Anderson, obviously, very, very good player as well. Duncan says that. There you go. Duncan back Van Veen to beat Humphries. Not a big surprise. Very good bet, that one.
In tennis, Nigel always talks about the auto fade. A player has a big win, a massive win, and then they've got to back it up. And that's hard. That's what Van Veen's got to do, as you say, against a fellow Dutchman who's very talented in his own right. You know, that's a test. You know, the come down of, you know, from beating Humphries. You know, can he back it up? That's the question.
The Dutch have been going very well in this tournament. Luke Littler, by the way, his route to the semi-final is Jermaine Wattimena, then either Andrew Gilding, Goldfinger, or Dirk van Duivenbode, which is a bit of a mouthful. That looks a fairly straightforward route to at least the semi-final for Luke Littler, which is why he is the plus 125 favourite. But you got the likes of Josh Rock, Chris Dobey, Gerwyn Price in form. You know, it could be a semi-final meet up there. It's going to be exciting. Anyway, we're going to have some bets for the matches today in the darts. This is the final 4 matches of the first round. Yeah. So here we go. We start things off. Let's go with Chris Dobey against Ricardo Pietreczko. Yep. Who is his nickname? I do believe is Pikachu. Yeah, yes. he goes on the Pokemon theme, doesn't he? He comes on stage with that. Plus 300. Are you gonna catch him here? Or not?
I think he's overpriced. I mean, we you know, he's very capable. We saw him and Martin Schindler beat the 2 Lukes, Humphries and Littler, in the World Cup not that long ago. He did fall early in Kiel last week, whereas Dobey reached the semi-finals. And Pietreczko, he made his tournament debut last year. He fell 10-4 to Humphries in the opener, and obviously Humphries went on to win it. Dobey reached quarterfinals 2 years ago. Otherwise, his record in this tournament is pretty average. I think it'll be closer than the odds suggest. Over 16.5 legs at minus 110 is tempting me. Just a lean for me in that one. But one match I definitely want to have a bet in is the going down, Gerwyn Price against Daryl Gurney. Yeah. Now, these two are in this epic World Cup final between Wales and Northern Ireland. And Gurney, a.k.a. Super Chin, him and Josh Rock beat Gerwyn Price and Johnny Clayton in an amazing match. Now, Price did win this tournament in Kiel last weekend, the Baltic Sea Open. And a few days before that, he thumped Gurney 6-1 in the Players' Championship. Gurney didn't play badly in Kiel. He beat Dave Chisnell, and then he fell to James Wade, who as I say, is back in form. And Gurney's finishing is his strongest asset. He's not the biggest scorer, but he does finish really well. And I think he's been underestimated in one of the Players' Specials market. So the line for his checkout percentage is 39.5, and that's too low to my eyes. In Kiel, he had 3 matches, including the match he lost to James Wade, and he was over 40% in all 3 of them. So I think over 39.5 at minus 110 is a bet for the checkout percentage for Daryl Gurney. I mean, Price might outscore him and he might not get that many chances, but when he does get chances, he takes them. So that would be my bet for Price against Gurney.
I don't think I've ever bet on that, by the way. Just talking about these checkout, there's loads of bets that Bet Rivers are offering.
Yeah,
and it's in the player specials market on the match tab. You can bet on the 3-dart average. I've done that quite a few times with darts players, but you can also bet on the checkout percentage. Over 39.5 for Daryl Gurney. And, you know, it doesn't matter if he only hits 2 doubles out of 4. You're in business there. So, yeah, good one.
He's a very good finisher. He's one of the best. He's probably, I'd go as far to say, you know, certainly in the top 3 or 4 finishers in the game. You know, he does finish very well. But the problem for him is that he might just get outscored by Gerwyn. But yeah, I saw one of the comments about Pietreczko. He can chuck it in a bit if things aren't going his way. He can get blown away. That is the risk with him. He can be a little temperamental. But I think he can get close. You know, Dobey can be really feast or famine. You know, he can be banging in the 180s and hitting everything, and other times he's just a bit.
He's a 180 machine when he's on form, and Dobey. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a great talent there, but he's just he's inconsistent. He beats himself up a little bit. I think he has really high standards for himself, which is good. But if he's sort of not clicking, then yeah, I mean that
can get down on himself.
Dobey wins that for me. I mean, I know it's minus 400, but If Chris Dobey's losing that game, I think he's in. That'd be very disappointing for Chris Dobey. Not that I bet him at -400, but going price here, by the way, -335. That's not a gimme. This is not a gimme game though. By all,
No,
I mean, Gerwyn's in great form, but -335. Would you have that?
I wouldn't back price at that price. Excuse pun. But as I say, he'll probably outscore Gurney. But if his scoring's not up to snuff, Gurney's the man to take advantage, because when he gets chances to finish, he will take them.
The next match is Michael van Gerwen against Raymond van Barneveld. It's not Raymond Van. I don't think we could fit his name on the actual graphic. But anyway, there was a question about this. I'm just looking at it now. Ning Chung, good to see.
Do we trust him?
Yeah, I mean, Van Gerwen's -250. Now, for those sort of casual observers of darts, will just think, Michael van Gerwen, Raymond van Barneveld's about 50 odd now. Should be a straightforward win. But Van Gerwen has shown his form is horrendous, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
really for a while.
He's had personal issues. He split from his wife, I think, a couple of months back, and he took a few weeks out. He returned in late May, and he's not been in great form. That said, Van Barneveld's not been in good form either. So, I mean, if this was based on normal form, Van Gerwen at or near his peak, he'd be half the price here. He'd be -500.
Yeah.
But you're getting -250 because he's had this layoff, because he's working his way back, because he hasn't been playing very well. And one thing I noticed about his matches since his return is he's not hitting very many 180s. Now, he's not a massively prolific 180 hitter anyway, because he likes to switch. He likes to go down to 19s. But in his 4 matches since his return, and these have all been best of 11 legs, and obviously tonight is best of 19. But in best of 11 legs, he's had 2 180s in a 10-leg match, 1 180 in a 9-leg match, and 1 180 in a 7-leg match. So, although this is best of 19, I don't see him suddenly smashing in the 180s. And as I say, he does switch as well. He does play the 19s cover. So I saw the unders 180s, under 4.5 180s. 4.5 is the line. Under 4.5 180s at -125 looks a very solid bet. And I'd be tempted to have a little bit on under 3.5 180s at +200 as well, because he's not really banging them in. The first match after when he's come back was in a US Masters. He played Leonard Gates. He won 6-1, and he played really well. It was good averages, good finishing. Since then, it's been all pretty much downhill. He's not been playing very well at all. And maybe the venue, Blackpool Winter Gardens, it will revive him a bit, but I don't know. He's not a player really to trust fully at the moment. I saw someone talking about the upset for Van Barneveld. I can't see it. I just don't think he's playing well enough. I think he's a long way below his best. I'd expect Van Gerwen to get through.
The world number 36, apparently, Van Barneveld still. That surprises me. I thought he'd be lower than that. I mean, I know he nearly retired from the sport about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Come back. He's competitive. I mean, just looking at the recent head-to-heads, this is from 2022 onwards. They're only in best of 11 matches. Van Gerwen 6-3, 6-4. Barney actually beat him 6-3 a couple of years ago, and then 6-5 with the last meeting last year, way back in January, though. So, yeah, maybe there's a history that he can keep it close. It might be one of those sort of bitty games, if you know what I mean, Rory, where neither player are that settled. And, you're looking at those under 180s for Van Gerwen. The match 180s line is 8.5. Barney's a sort of bloke who you never know what he's going to do, though, do you? He can hit 180s. Of course he can.
Yes, he can.
Slides them in. So, yeah, worth looking at there. This is a best of 19 match, Duncan, this. So first to 10 legs. Although you can't win 10-9. You can win 13-12, potentially. If it goes that deep, then they will have one leg to determine it. But you can't win 10-9. You've got to win by 2 clear legs, unless it goes to a sudden death leg. And the danger is, of course, if the match does go long, but if Van Gerwen kind of plays as to an all right level, he should be probably winning the game about 10-6. You would think
10-7, yeah.
He's a 19s machine if he wants to be, like you said, Rory. So interesting little angle there. One more match today. This is Ross Smith against Josh Rock. Could be quite a tasty match, I think, this one. Smith can perform on stage. Josh Rock, they just won the World Cup, didn't they? As you said, they're -175. He's a popular pick actually in the outrights this week. Josh Rock, -175 to win today. You having him for this match?
Yeah, I mean, he might be popular for the outright, but he's in the wrong half, isn't he? He's in Luke Littler's half, so I'm not sure about that. But he's, that World Cup win has definitely seemed to have sparked something in him. He was a very talented youngster, and was touted for very big things. And it hasn't quite happened, but it might be about to happen now. These two actually met at this stage last year, and Smith won 10-4. But a lot has happened since then, as we've discussed. These two are known as prolific 180 hitters, but they've not really been hitting them of late. They, in that tournament in Kiel, they weren't banging them in. And the line for total 180s is 13.5, and that looks high to me. And I'd even be tempted to look at under 12.5 180s. That's at +125. It's just a lean, but I do think the line for 180s is just a bit high in this one. They've got reputations as big maximum hitters, but they haven't really been doing it of late. So I'd be going unders on the 180s.
It's a huge line. Monstrous line. 13.5 pre-game.
Yeah.
You're going to need, most of these games just say, it's to win 10-8, 10-7. You're going to need about a 180, not nearly every leg, but not far off it.
No.
I know these are big.
And if Rock's playing really well, it could be, it could be a 10-4, 10-3, 10-4, 10-5. He's not going to hit one every leg. So, I just think that's a very high line. What are you looking at? I think most of the matches, it's sort of 10.5, 9.5, 10.5.
Very high line.
But to me, it's a bit high.
You see, obviously, you can certainly see why it is. There's a special here from Bet Rivers, both players to throw over 7.5 180s plus 350. That would be extraordinary, actually.
That would be to happen. That would make for a very entertaining match.
That would have to be like into sudden death, I think, to have any chance of that, realistically. Someone asked, Meninda, don't worry, we will recap the bets at the end of the show, and I will be asking Roy what his best bet of the card is in the darts and tennis. But before we go, I did mention Champions League qualifying tomorrow. Dan and Lewis will be on the show. I don't know exactly what games they're going to be covering yet, but I picked 4 matches out which I quite like. And for me, the best bet would have to be that third match there. FK Shendia against FCSB, the Romanian champions, away to the Macedonian champions. For me, FCSB are one of the best teams. They were the best team in qualifying in the last round. And in this round, they're one of the better ones as well. Had a great run in the Europa League last year. They'll win this away from home, -112 for me. That's a really good looking bet. Malmo, the Swedish champions, away to RFS of Latvia. I'm a bit surprised Malmo are plus money here. I think they're suddenly finding some form. They seem really focused on getting a good run in this Champions League. I like the goals here too. I think we could get, over 2.25 goals you can get with Bet Rivers, about -125. Plus money for over 2.5. But the Malmo games have been pretty open recently. They're clearly scoring plenty of goals, but I like the away team and overs there. Hamrun Spartans, not many would have heard of this team, against Dynamo Kiev, the Ukrainian champions. The Hamrun Spartans are the champions of Malta, and they caught my eye in the previous round, Rory, because away from home, it's a big surprise they're through. They beat the Lithuanian champions on penalties. But away from home, they lost the away leg 2-0, but they had about 15 shots in the game. They murdered Zalgiris in the home leg. It was 2-0, but they had like 25 shots to 6. I've seen them, and I think they'll give it a good go. I think they'll be attacking. I think they can score a goal. In which instance, both teams score yes appeals at -120 with Bet Rivers. It's just one of those situations. Sometimes with an underdog, it's like, how do you get with the underdog? Do you take handicaps? Do you look at halftime splits or whatever? Goals? I think both teams score could be worth a look here. Dynamo Kiev not had a competitive game yet this year. Very likely that in the return leg that Dynamo Kiev will be far too strong anyway. But I could see those Spartans getting on the score sheet here. It's actually shortened to -137 now. I still think that's not a bad bet. Not saying they're going to win or even draw, but I think they can get both teams score yes. And then the interesting one at the bottom there, Rangers against Panathinaikos. I'm sure this match will be discussed on tomorrow's show. Rangers at -129. New era at Ibrox with Russell Martin as the manager. I think Russell Martin goes well there at Rangers, Rory. I really do. I've enjoyed what I've seen from his teams. He was kind of naive coming into the Premier League with Southampton and playing pass and all that, but he is going to dominate that Scottish league with his style. Obviously, apart from Celtic.
Yeah. As a big Celtic fan, I'm thinking, oh no, please, I hope not.
No. But they should dominate the games against everyone else.
Right, I get it.
Wouldn't surprise me actually if they did give Celtic a run for their money this year. They should be winning that match at home to Panathinaikos, in my opinion. Not even the champions of Greece. Of course, Panathinaikos, Olympiacos were well cleared there. -129 on Rangers. Rangers at home in Europe is generally usually a bet. It's one of them rules. I wouldn't bet against them at home, that's for sure.
No.
But I think Dan and Lewis probably will have more of an angle than me there tomorrow. But I say, from my point of view, FCSB on the money line, best bet tomorrow, and then Malmo over 2.25.
As you know, I'm of the Celtic persuasion, but Rangers, when they're up for it, they're formidable. I saw them against Spurs in Europe last season. They could have won that easily, and Spurs went on to win the trophy. When they're up for it, they're a good side. It's just the problem they've had in the league is beating. They've done all right against Celtic. They've not done
competitive.
Bad
Yeah, I mean, competitive. In the big moments against Celtic, they've struggled, haven't they? Like in cup finals and stuff like that. But always competitive, and I think that's what Martin will bring. Really, Martin's team should completely dominate all the inferior sides in the Scottish Premier League. I know the weather can be a thing up there, but I'd be more concerned against them against Celtic actually, because Martin's teams do make mistakes. They play risky strategy, but I think that's a good hire. I mean, Russell Martin, I think, could have commanded, if he had just hung around a bit, he might have even been able to squeak a Premier League job when the sackings come in November. I'm coming from certainly top end of the Championship. It's going to be interesting how he gets on there. I think if you give him 2 or 3 years there, he probably will win a title somewhere, you'd think. Gerrard won a title up there, for goodness sake, didn't he? Yeah, I mean, Celtic have won a lot of titles, of course, but I mean, like 7 or 8 of them were when Rangers weren't even in the league or recovering back on track. But that's an interesting one. Duncan's right. In Europe, they can turn into a little bit of Brian Barcelona.
Yeah,
they out of nowhere.
That match against Spurs, I say last season, they looked fantastic. I thought they were the better side. They should have won.
So give us a recap then, Rory, the tennis bets that on the matches that you advised, and what would be the best one?
So in Washington, I'd like Hailey Baptiste on the money line. As I said, I've picked her for the tournament. I thought this was a slightly tricky opener, but she's much bigger than I thought she'd be. I thought she'd be around even money, +110, +140 was unexpected. And I also in Washington, Raducanu -1.5 sets against Kostyuk. at +145. And in this match, Siniakova against Ruse, over 2.5 sets at +138. If I had to pick one, it would be Raducanu -1.5 sets against Kostyuk.
And in the darts then, Rory, what would be the best bet of the ones that you gave out?
Oh, the best bet here. I really like the Gurney over 39.5% checkout percentage at -110. The other bets I think I had Pietreczko and Dobey. That was a lean for overs legs, over 16.5. And I was unders on MVG on Van Gerwen 180s. I thought unders was the way to go.
Well, that was brilliant. How time flies when you're enjoying yourself.
It is. So we've got a bit over. Apologies.
No, it's been all good fun. It's been great fun. And thanks everyone who joined in live or on demand. Remember to please like and subscribe to the channel if you've not already. We got over 10,000 subscribers a couple of weeks ago. Thanks so much for all your support. Remember the Betting Weekly newsletter as well. Sign up for that for free if you've not. Betting Weekly Tennis Live is on in an hour. Mitch Michaels and Dustin Fox, and Betting Weekly Hardball as well later with Doug and Chris. But Roy, it was a pleasure as always.
Cheers,
keep
Steve.
up the great work on the tennis, and good luck with those plays in the darts today as well. But remember to gamble responsibly, everyone. I'll see you on Wednesday with Jack Wright. Tomorrow it's Dan and Lewis, and Rory, you'll be back. I think you are on tomorrow on Betting Weekly Tennis Live. Yeah,
Yes.
So yeah, look forward to that. Take care. Thanks so much again, Rory. We'll see you next time on Betting Weekly Live.